All right, who's eating good? Served by Applebee's, as it always is. We start with Evan Engram. He's got the Patriots. And Matthew, in this barren wasteland that is tight end, is Evan Engram a top 5 option right away since he's returned?
He is. He's my tight end 5 this week. Last week, 29% target share. It's tied for the most targets among tight ends last week. At least 4 receptions now for Evan Engram in 18 of his past 19 games dating back to last season. Trevor Lawrence, there's not a lot that's working in Jacksonville right now, but Trevor Lawrence to Evan Engram is one of the things that actually is. He's had at least 6 targets in 89% of his games since the start of last season. So in a game that should be competitive against the Patriots over in London, Evan Engram is a top 5 tight end for me this week.
For a guy to come in week 1, get hurt, play half the game, miss 4 games, then come back and immediately have 10 catches, over 100 yards, that's saying top 5 fantasy tight end to me. Then when you look going forward past the Patriots, he's got Green Bay. They're the 5th worst against tight ends in fantasy. Philadelphia is a little bit better, but then you get Minnesota, who's the 6th worst against tight ends in fantasy. So not only you're going to start him regardless, but it's just knowing that you got some good matchups to go with it makes it even better.
Lawrence, things have been great for Brock Bowers during his rookie season. Are they about to get better with Davante Adams out the door?
Yeah, they're going to get better. And to be honest, the first 3 weeks of the season with Davante Adams, he was the best tight end in fantasy besides Dallas Goedert because of that one big game Dallas Goedert had. But Brock Bowers was already good. Now that Davante Adams is gone, he's got 2 straight games with at least 8 catches, double-digit targets. They're just going to say, look, this is why we took him 13th overall when we had many more needs on both sides of the ball. This is why we're going to use him. You saw him last week, 9 catches for 71 yards. So, yeah, look at him. They're manufacturing them targets, finding ways to get him the ball every way possible. He's a top 3. I had him at tight end 8 coming into the year. Now it's too low, obviously. So, top 3 tight end rest of the way.
I think everyone was too low on Brock Bowers. That's my biggest miss of the season so far. I was worried about usage. I was worried about the quarterback. All of that was wrong. And by the way, with Davante Adams, we talked about this yesterday when we talked about the trade, but with Davante Adams now in New York, he is the offense here. He's the only tight end this season with 4 different games of 6 or more receptions. That's only going to go up. 17.5 points per game in his 4 games with at least a 20% target share. He's going to get at least a 20% target share with no Davante Adams. Oh, get this. His next 2 opponents, the Rams and then the Chiefs, are the 2 worst teams against tight ends so far this season. He's my tight end 3 this week. And I would argue, guys, that if you had a draft today for the rest of the season, like, for example, you were doing a guillotine league, which you can start at any point you want during the season. You could join it now today and draft for the rest of the season at guillotineleagues.com. I'm a company man. If you did that, Brock Bowers is a first-round pick. I would argue that if you were drafting it for the rest of the season.
You would draft him like how people used to draft Travis Kelce a couple years ago.
That's my argument, yes.
Yeah, he's just too good, too much volume at this point. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Any quarterback could throw it 3 yards past the line.
And again, the pro Kelce argument when he was going as a first rounder was it's not only that he's so good, he's so much better than everyone else at the position, and that's what Brock Bowers is doing this year too. It's not that he's elite, because he is elite, but he's significantly better than every other tight end in fantasy football right now.
And they ain't got nobody else.
No, dude.
Our tight end
Cut
edition.
to Jacoby Myers being like, wow, Lawrence, what's with this shrapnel?
Our tight end edition of Who's Eating Good continues and closes out with Mark Andrews against the Bucs. Matthew, reason for optimism finally, or if you could sell, do you bail?
Reason for optimism because I now can sell. I thought it was a sunk cost. I thought, oh, God, I'm stuck with this guy. Now maybe I can get something for him. He's my tight end 16 this year. Back-to-back games with 55 receiving yards. Great. That's what I'm hanging my hat on when I'm trying to sell him, because the fact is that so far this year he still has a less than 11% target share. He has 3 different games with 2 or fewer targets. He has not had 1 game with more than 5 targets this entire year. On the season, a 60% route participation. If you watch that game against the Commanders, his biggest play was basically busted coverage. And whatever, he catches a touchdown, fine. But Isaiah Likely and Charlie Kolar are both involved. It's a 3-headed tight end by committee. I have no confidence at all that Mark Andrews is quote-unquote back. So, yes, if I could get something solid for him, I would sell him. He's my tight end 16 this week.
Shout out to you if you can get something from Mark Andrews. And you said you have him at tight end 16 this week. Funny thing about that number, that's what he would have been if he didn't catch that touchdown pass. But if you look at that game, right, Likely still plays 68% of the snaps.
Thank you.
To Mark Ingram's 50%. That's not enough.
Andrews.
That's not Mark Andrews, sorry.
Yeah.
That's not what he did in the past. Then Charlie Kohler only playing 32% of the snaps, but that's still too much. Like you said, they're using all three tight ends. Lamar spreading the ball around. Unless you're Zay Flowers, he the man. But other than that, man, nah.
Kohler's the better blocker, and they want to be run heavy.
The key.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the key. So he's going to be on the field.
We're taking one more break, one more back. Last call. We got our early line alert as we head into the weekend.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotorWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.